September 2015. It is a very nice evening outside. I come back from school and I sit down with my mom in the kitchen. We talk as usual. How was your school day? She goes, well, it was fine. We had a lunch meeting with the organization that is recruiting for scholars for the next year. And if I applied and got accepted, I would be able to spend a year in an American high school. I unfortunately didn't go to the meeting because I didn't have time, but if I applied, that would be something wonderful. What do you think about that? So we both stared at ourselves for like 3 seconds, and my mom goes, so how many people apply every year? And I go, you know, like 300, but 4 are gonna go, so. And she looked at me and she goes, well, you can try. Although, I guess neither of us expected at that time that I was gonna be leaving my home very soon.
Lately, I've been going to many college open house events, and the most popular question is, where are you from? And I always feel a little bit weird when answering that because my answer isn't your typical one-word response. Instead, it goes something like this. Well, I was born in Brazil, but 4 years ago, we moved to China for my dad's job, and then 2 years ago, we moved here to America, so I guess you could say right now I'm from Toledo.
Juliana and I both define ourselves as third culture kids.
The term was first used in the 50s to describe children from American families living abroad. Since created, it has gone through slight changes in definition, but the most popular one is from sociologist David Pollock.
A third culture kid is a person who has spent a significant part of her or his developmental years outside their parents' culture. Third culture kid builds relationship to all the cultures while not having a full ownership in any. Although elements from each culture may be assimilated into the TCK's experience, the sense of real belonging is in relationship to others with a similar culture.
Okay, but what exactly does that definition mean? In other words, a third culture kid is someone who has moved abroad to a place with a different culture than their own in their early years.
So some usual group of third culture kids are children of military, businessmen, or diplomats. And a very significant group are study abroad students. By living in a foreign country and assimilating to different, not familiar culture, these people end up having distinct views on different societal aspects.
Third culture kids often share the same journey. They start with their home culture. This is where they're born and raised. And it changes from person to person. For me, it's Brazil, but for Philip, it's Poland. Regardless, this is the place that they associate family, friends, and school.
By spending a significant amount of time abroad, they get used to new norms in a new place. When I first came to the United States in August last year, the process of adjustment took me a couple of months. I would say until Thanksgiving celebration. But although I spoke English fluently at that time, I still had to learn how American society worked. And it is not a type of knowledge that any English book can provide.
Finally, they form their third culture, and this is their own. They adopt some habits from their home culture, others from their host. They're a little bit of both, but at the same time, not 100% either. And they may feel similar to kids going through the same experience rather than from a single place.
In other words, being a third culture kid means being different than others. Advantages of having that experience range from social, cultural, to language areas. Having an expanded worldview is one of the most significant advantages.
The world is split up in many ways. There's different significant dates, historical figures, and even habits. By having a first-hand experience of these, third culture kids have an easier time understanding how perspectives can vary from culture to culture.
This also makes third culture kids experience a cross-cultural enrichment. To them, home isn't just found in their passport cultures. Instead, they assimilate different aspects of different cultures and such like food, music, or traditions as somehow a part of their home.
They also tend to be more tolerant of cultural differences, understanding the significance behind them.
A lot of times, third culture kids are forced to deal with the extreme situations under completely different and familiar circumstances. It may be, for example, getting a new job or switching the school, or even moving from one part of the world to another again. People that have already lived the third culture kid's life experience are very flexible. And it is just easier for them to get assimilated in the new surroundings and just settle down and start a new life. Third culture kids adapt in general easily, but they can also easily leave their reality behind.
There are also some skills that, although not unique to TCKs, are fairly common in the group. One of them is being multilingual. Moving to a different country can push them into learning a new language, so that they have an easier time adapting to a different place.
Also, in terms of social and interpersonal skills, they also tend to be more independent and ready for new experiences.
However, even though there are great things that come out of this, there are also many challenges. Perhaps the greatest one is in answering, where is home? Home is where you belong, but to a TCK, finding an exact location isn't always that easy.
They may have lived in many countries. Their families may be spread among all over the places. But is the home where they are now, or is it where they were born? And finding the answer for that question is not that easy.
They may also experience challenges with identity. They may mirror other people's behavior in an attempt to fit in.
And that results in having a harder time figuring out their own personalities. A third culture kid may have difficulties in deciding who they are and who they want to be, especially when they move from one group of friends to another.
The life of a third culture kid brings both advantages and disadvantages.
But even though it is a very challenging experience, I would say it's lifelong and incredible. It is also dependent on a person and their personal skills.
For me, I've learned that home is in many places. It's in my family back in Brazil, and my friends in China, and in my friends here in America.
For me, I have learned that I can carry a little piece of my Polish home in my heart, and I can share it with people all over the places.
Thank you.